Good morning and welcome. It's May 27th of the year 2025. It's another day. It's a new day. I greet each day as a new day, but I want to give a warm welcome to my live stream. You have joined Fight CPS with your host, Bob Pace. Now, I am not an attorney. I'm a loving father who's gone through a terrible time with the what I call the Child Protection System, CPS. This system abused my family, ruined my family. I lost my forever home. And my marketability has been hurt by this agency as far as a job. Now, I did not want this to happen, but I learned a very terrible reason. I had always believed in government. I believed in the law enforcement and certainly agencies that would help, but I had no idea the ramification that this agency has become. It's really mind-boggling. In fact, yesterday I had a couple talk to me twice yesterday, a couple that was struggling in Santa Clarita, California. They had a 4-year-old child, and the child encountered some sharp abdominal pains. And like good parents, they went and took him to the hospital. Well, they actually started with their pediatrician. They had a pediatrician. They had medical insurance. They're low income. And that seems, I want to emphasize that the majority of you, including myself, low income is our problem. And unfortunately, not all of us are successful as people like Elon Musk. Now, we're all given the same opportunity in this country. This is a great country. Anybody can be president. And anybody can work for government. But you hear about rumors, you hear about stories, but I never would ever believe an agency that has a track record of being so cruel to family. Now, I know that's very harsh words, and not all see, but over 1,700 people have told me so, and I'm one of those. So I come here twice a day to relate what happened to me in CPS and to help you all. Now, this poor family, was trying to figure out what's wrong with her daughter. The pediatrician says that she has to go to the hospital. The hospital did some testing, but didn't do complete testing. I don't know if the hospital is that bad or what. Or they're so worried about the hospital insurance, or they're trying to cut corners. Anyway, they misdiagnosed their daughter. They thought she had appendicitis. So they removed her appendix. Now, the parents wanted a second opinion because they had heard that appendix is good to keep in there because it helps with immune issues. And they thought maybe there's another treatment, or it sure is. So they asked for a second opinion. Well, the social workers were disgusted. They got involved because lately in the hospitals, emergency rooms, and urgent care, there's social workers that work for the Child Protection System that think they're clinical psychiatrists, think they know everything, and that all parents are bad, especially low-income parents. They think parents, because they're in poverty, that is neglect with their children. They relate an issue and they think all parents are bad, so they force to take the child away from the parents when they don't need to be in danger. So I know that's what you're coming across. I know what it is because I talk twice a day. I'm on from 10 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends at 8 a.m. Then in the evening, I'm on every night of the week, 7 days a week at 7 p.m. Now, that is all Pacific Standard Time. The West Coast of California is where I'm broadcasting live stream from. A place called Surf City, USA, and I'm 3 blocks from the beach. Yes, I'm a surfer. I love the beach. I love the ocean. If I don't get in the water, my gills dry up. But besides that, I'm a little and took them from me. Anyway, it looks like my internet strength is not strong. I don't know. It's like, okay, it's back on. It's back on. So if there's there, but I do try to help everybody in this room. I have people that have been following me since day one. And some of them are regulars. They come in twice a day. They're like family. They call me Uncle Bob. You know, I'm a loving man. I have 42 years of marriage experience that I could share with you. I mean, I have lots of life skill, over 60 years of life skill. I mean, ever since I was 15, I have all these life skills that I've accumulated. And yesterday, I tried my best to help out the understanding. What this family had really was gallbladders. The bile fluid, which helps with the digestive, had coagulated and became stones in the gallbladder. And they were blocking the ducts, and that was causing abdominal pain. And see, when you have what they thought it was, that pain is usually in the right side, not the left side. And see, I cannot believe I'm not a doctor, but I'm intelligent. I can read a lot. I am medically trained as a high-level EMT. As an ocean lifeguard, you take a lot of EMT classes. I also took police training because I had to give out tickets and make arrests. So you had to have a police background. So I've had my background, in first aid and advanced first aid and CPR and defibrillators and all the advanced life supports and whatever. I have all that training, so I do have a good medical knowledge. But I was able to read through what the parents were going through. They have a malpractice case, but the stupidity of the social worker is now filed for them to come to court on Wednesday on a short notice. They don't have an attorney. They want to get an attorney. So it's really complicated, but I helped them, and we worked through it. We learned a lot about gallstones. We learned about how the test for gallstones, what is a gallstone, how does it happen, what's the treatment. It's really amazing what the internet can provide you. And with your background in the classes, see, I was a high-level engineer and a scientist. My degree is in marine biology. That's my background. I've worked as a marine animal trainer, training killer whales and dolphins and pilot whales and even walruses and penguins. I've had a great extensive background there. They will be able to talk to Mr. Davis, Christina. I'm setting that up as best as I can. Because what's happening to these people is the CPS of LA County. They're in Santa Clarita, California. And that's LA County, Los Angeles County. And they call their CPS, their Child Protection System, Department of Children and Family Services. Well, that department is really corrupt. LA County is corrupt. So is San Bernardino County, Riverside County, and Orange County. So is Kern County. I mean, that's just around me, let alone over 1,700 and some people here, 700 plus, have said similar things about their CPS system. It is corrupt. There is a beautiful lady who's been on my show. Her name is KK Richardson. And somehow CPS has got her family to turn against her. And now she's been charged with neglect. She has her own live stream that she talks about. She's been on my show many times, KK, but she now has to fight an uphill battle. She, in fact, went back to law school and got a degree, and she can practice law in the juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. That's what she got her background in, and that's the kind of attorney you want. The attorney that I work for, Vincent W. Davis, who produces this live stream, is that kind of attorney. He once was a foster care himself, and he has 39 years of rescuing children from CPS and giving back to families, thousands of children. He's a trial attorney, and also when your case is over, he can do lawsuits, civil lawsuits. He's filed in both state court and federal court and won millions of dollars. So if you're looking for an attorney, I have a phone number right there, 888-888-6582, and you can hire him. Yes, his retainer for LA County is $5,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for me. And I know where you're coming from. When you're low income, it is big money. Even a parking ticket of $46 is a lot of money. But anyway, he's a $500 an hour attorney. I know attorneys run from anywhere from $300 to $600. I imagine the big time attorneys are $800 or $1,000 an hour. And I still don't know why we elevate athletes and attorneys and doctors as the highest paid professions. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But they're great demand, and when they're in demand, they can get the money. An athlete can command now any money. He can get money now even at the college level. And I don't know why my internet is fading in and out. I got to talk to my subscriber. I suppose they have 7G or whatever it's called. I was 5, now it's 7G internet. It's fiber optics, supposed to be the best. But I am using Wi-Fi. But I'm downstairs in my home, and I need to get another cable that reaches all the way downstairs to hardwire it. Now, Christine Reynosa said, he said for 10 grand, he'll help me with my book. Okay. True crime. Well, that is an interesting book. I imagine you're talking about CPS. So he help you with your book for 10 grand. Well, that is good to know. Now, Christina Reynosa is a longtime advocate in here. She's from California, and she had a horrible case. Welcome, Triancy McInnes. I found it's hard to get a lawyer in Texas to go up against CPS. I got one for my son, and it's $500 an hour. Yep. That is hard, McInnes. I assume you're in Texas. I don't know what part of Texas you were. We had a Fort Worth, Texas couple last night. But I know CPS is awful in Texas. We had a mother here named Danielle from Georgia, used to be a co-host, and she had a son that was trapped in Texas because he was transferred from Georgia to Texas because he's a special needs child, and in Texas was the only one. They used a private organization called the ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Placement of Children, ICPC. It's an independent organization that promotes to protect your children from when it goes from one state to another. But CPS kept him to his 19 till he was bailed out by his mother. See, CPS kidnaps children. They kidnapped my 3 children. They said they were in danger, so they took them. What was the danger? They're in school. When at home, they're in their bedroom. They have their own private room, own private toilet. I mean, I don't know what danger that my 3 children are in. Anyway, CPS is corrupt. Their MO, the bad ones are, is that they immediately believe the storytelling that uh, professional reporters, who are the professionals, or the lay people, who are the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, the family friends, the acquaintances down the street, of child abuse reported was over 4.2 million, and over 2 million were found not justifying any further investigation. And they were reported by professionals, people that have gone and trained, they're required by law to, if they suspect abuse or neglect, to report it. But 2 million were wrong. That's half. Now, with the lay people, they're about 99% wrong, because a lot of them use it to retaliate against families. They don't like the neighbor's dog barking, so they'll complain about the person that has the barking dog. They'll make up stories that his children are running wild. Well, he doesn't have children. That's how stupid they are. Or they'll make up other stories that they don't like the way the yard is growing on your neighbor, on your yard, or whatever. So there's always that or it's a husband that wants to get the children, so he thoughts by making the mom look bad, he'll get the children. There's stupid reasons. But studies have shown the best person to take care of children are the biological parents. That's why every attempt should be made to reunify the parents and the family. If they need to break up the family, if the child truly is in danger, the family should stay with next of kin, not placed in foster care. Now, I'm sorry to be so hard on foster care people. There are a lot of good foster care people in the country. One of them I show regularly. Her name is Betty Jo from Montana. She's a beautiful foster mom. She's not in the market for adopting children. She wants to temporarily take care of the children and protect the child. Now, she had a child recently that his parents were killed in a car accident on Friday night. Now he's left alone. And they did try, he stayed with her for a while, and they tried to get him to be adopted as a guardianship by one of the family members. But it didn't work out. And he was so devastated. But this foster care mom said, I'll adopt you. I'll be your guardian. I'll take care of you. Now that is a true foster parent. She went through school and she got trained and educated. She's legit. There's a lot of foster parents that the only reason why they become a foster parent is to do a quick way of adoption, because being a foster parent, you can get your child within a month or two. As soon as you go and take necessary classes, become a foster parent, CPS will award you a child with no problem. And that's sad, because there's a lot of bad foster people out there that abuse children. Unbelievable. They're supposed to have team meetings where the children and the parents and a person that orchestrates the meeting, somebody that is like a mentor or something there that can chair the meeting, and then a social service rep and any other professional reps would be there, and they all work together in a team to reunify the family. But they don't do these team meetings. I'm shocked they don't do that. Also, a lot of you don't know that you can ask for a trial by jury. Yes, I'm telling you, you can have a trial by jury in CPS dependency court. You have to ask for it. It's hidden. But I certainly, if I had to do my life over again, I would have had a trial by jury, because my peers would see through the forest. They see through the smoke screen that CPS puts up. And again, I apologize for any CPS people out there who hurt your feelings. But unless you come on my show and talk about your CPS and how you do things, it's hard for me to believe that there's any good CPS out there. Um, we have we've been hearing from the Tracy McKinnis from Texas. Oh, you're in Arkansas. Okay, I'm confused. You retired in Arkansas. Are you a mother and father? I assume. Anyway, let me put on my screen because apparently a lot of people, and I need to do this because a lot of people don't know how to text in a message. To text in a message, make it a comment or a question and should pertain to CPS. Please state your first name, your city or county, your state, and if you're from a country, put your country in. I know all the states, so I don't need to put the country USA. I know anybody in the 50 states. Also, make sure you tell me about that. Now, I've talked to 23 countries, including the United States. I've talked to all 50 states. And I've also talked to the District of Columbia. So, a lot of people, a lot of people. Now, these countries range from Indonesia to Bangladesh to India to the Middle East to Saudi Arabia to Libya. Then we go to Africa to Liberia to Sudan to the Republic of Congo, down to Rwanda to Mozambique and to South Africa. Then up to Europe, England, Scotland, Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond in North America, we have Canada, and of course the United States, and south of border Mexico. And then South America, north of Brazil, on the east coast, Grenada. And then across the South Pacific to the west, we have New Zealand, and then the land down under, Australia. So those are the countries. That's quite a diverse group there. And I've heard from every one of the countries. Some have even called in. And one person, Leica, calls in all the time, and she's part of the family. She calls me Uncle Bob. And there's one girl in here that doesn't have a mother or father and says, "You'd be a great dad." So I'm here because I'm trying to encourage you not to give up. It's really easy to give up. It's really hard to fight. I have one beautiful person in Ostenago, New York, called Tony the Tiger on here. That's her handle. Her real name is Cassandra. And she has a horrible case about her son who's special needs. Now, how her families have been against. See, the problem is you need support, and a lot of your families won't support you. A lot of people think CPS is evil and bad, and it's true. It is. And they're scared because you don't know who you're going to get. You fell in the rabbit hole and met the cat, the Chester cat, who says go to this room for help, or that room, or this room, or whatever. And you go from bouncing room to room, and you just don't go anywhere. That's why CPS is so corrupt. They lie, they retaliate, they cheat, they embezzle money. I can go on and on. It's a great idea. When in 1962, Congress passed a law that we're going to have to protect our children from neglect or abuse. Now, for 400 years, there's been neglect and abuse going on with children. And the history of CPS is divided into three parts. One is from 1600 to 1875, and then from 1875 to 1962, and from 1962 to the present. And each of those milestones had events going on. In 1600, we were settling our colonies. And a lot of the colonists, we've had colonies start and disappear. And they're still being discovered today why they disappeared. Before Jamestown, there was another lost colonist. that immigrated into the native people and disappeared, but a lot of their European ways remain on, and they came across sites about a shopkeeper abusing a child. Maybe that story is where Dickens got his story about uh, Tiny Tim, or what's the Christmas story? Sadness about have to work on Christmas, very meek salaries. I know some of you are really. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. Um, Another way to interact with this live stream is to be a guest on my live stream. And I'd love to have any of you there. That would be good. That would be good. Well, we've had Terrence McKinnis, who has a CP case in Texas but retired in Arkansas. Now, Christina Reynosa asked, did I have own walkway? Now, philosophical, I don't know what that means about CPS, Christina, but if you can elaborate on it, it'd be much appreciative. Now, Colleen, maybe. Hey, it's me again. Yes, I remember Colleen. She's from San Bernardino County. Apparently, because my mom has trailers on her property being used for storage, she us being accused of people living in all of them and selling drugs, which is so far from true. It's crazy. They're threatening now to arrest my mom, who has done nothing. She doesn't do drugs or drink. She doesn't even smoke cigarettes. And they say they're going to take the kids back when they just return them. This is so bad, Colleen. I know. I remember you talking to me about that. Colleen says from San Bernardino, they're wasting time on us when 6 kids in the same county were just removed from a foster home after years of torture. Oh yeah, there was those 6 kids in LA County. I know exactly what you're talking about. Why? Because they're already getting money for them, so they'll probably stop checking in on the kids. They're busy taking kids away to worry about kids already taken. It's true. It's a money-making business. It's trillions of dollars. You're right, Colleen. You're right. Okay, your son is in Texas. Why is your son not with you when you retired in Arkansas? Are you talking maybe about your son's children? Maybe that's what you're meaning, Terency, from Arkansas. Now, Christine Reynosa says, sketch a floor plan. Well, I guess so. You want to sketch something out so you can orchestrate what's taking place. You said your children had their own rooms. I guess she's referring to Kalina. She means draw a picture of the house, show their own rooms. Now, my children had their own rooms because I had a 2-story home, close to 3,500 square feet. It was built in 1998. I bought it in 2004. It was on an oversized lot in a cul-de-sac. So my neighbor's walls were more than 30 feet from my property. So I had no problem about shaking hands with a neighbor. It wasn't like where I used to live in a patio home where 5 feet separated us. But it was a beautiful home with high vaulted ceilings and beautiful bedroom for the children's. They each had their own. They took care of their own rooms. A central vacuum, so you didn't have to crawl and vacuum up and down. Had central air, heating, had a modern kitchen, state-of-the-art refrigerator, washer and dryer. It was great. It was a beautiful home, beautiful yard, a walk-in rock pool, a grotto jacuzzi, English garden on one side, tropical garden on the back side, and then a dog run from my Siberian Huskies. And it was close to the beach. It was within 1 mile of the beach. Had waterfalls, had fruit trees, had a private yard area, fenced in and everything. The kids had a park nearby that they could walk and play football or throw things or go through the nature part of the park. So it was a nice area. It's a lot of things that people don't realize. The library was in walking distance. The horse trails were around us. They could ride horses on the trails. They could rent the horses at the rental place nearby. So it was really great. It was really a great area if you like horses and you like that kind of lifestyle. It's expensive. My home was very expensive. But in order to hire Vincent Davis, I sold my home. I did a quick sale. And that was a mistake. I should never have been talked into that. Oh, my house. And they had been living together for 55 years. They're married for 55 years. So they had a lot of things. And they asked me, son, could you help us distribute the furniture and stuff? Because my sister lived in Kauai and it was hard for her. And I lived in California. And so I said, sure. So one weekend I hauled all the stuff in a U-Haul. Anything that could fit in a U-Haul, I put it in there. There's a lot of stuff. And at first I tried to keep it on my garage apron and I tarped it. But because I lived in a private neighborhood with CC&Rs, they don't allow you to do that. So then I was forced to bring it in my home. And that was a mistake. I wanted to put it in storage. But when I lost my job in 2010, I had to switch from a very comfortable lifestyle with a very high level income to a Spartan lifestyle using my savings for the next, it was 2017 when I lost my home in April. And I lost my job in 2010. So in 2010 to 15, so 7 years, my savings helped support my home. But I wanted to get my kids back. My kids were kidnapped and tortured and hurt in CPS hands. Foster parents do torture. One lady that was on my show here, Faye Manley in Richmond, Kentucky, as a foster child for hours on sharp rocks, barefooted, so that the foster parents could torture her. That's how sick foster care is. Christina's asking Bob if there was a separate door that go in and out and you were in mourning and there were no type of abuse allegations. That is harassment. Oh, I did. It was harassment because how it started, Christina, my case started, was the fact that I had a layperson report every week for 5 years. 5 years. And CPS would meet with me, walk through my home. And the last 5 years, the year in 2014 is when I moved my parents' things into my home. And like a fool, I allowed them all into my home and they saw these belongings and said, oh, that's negligence. Now, there were stocked boxes, 3 boxes high, furniture on top of furniture, but my children are big enough. They're tall enough. They're old enough. They were smart enough. Furniture doesn't fly up the stairs. Furniture does have feet, but it's fixed. It's static. So somehow CPS thought that would endanger the kids, so they call that negligence. I wasn't protecting my kids. They also thought with the boxes up there, oh, they could topple and hurt the kids. Well, my kids are old enough, they don't play in the living room. They know that room is for sorting and organizing. And, I'm dealing with my death of my dad, and then my mother is slowly dying, and I'm trying to deal with the loss of a job through no fault of my own. And then I have this crazy entity called CPS. In California and Orange County, it's called the Child Protection System. It's run by a crooked director. His office, his own personal office building, is a green Taj Mahal of a place. It looks like the Emerald City of the Wizard of Oz. And he had so much gold when I met with him on his neck, I wanted to offer him crutches so he wouldn't fall over. All they thought about was money. You walk in his palace and it was gaudy. It was gaudy. I said, where is the money? That money should be going to help out the children, not help you live a rich style. And the guy was rude. He wasn't even, he wasn't a businessman. He didn't have a professional background. He was rude. It was all egotistically about money, and that's what they were. They were collecting $20,000 per child per month for my three children. That's $60,000. It doesn't take $60,000 to run a group home. They were forced into a group home, and they were taught to put their hands at their side and not say anything, not to show love to your parents. They were taught so many evil things, and Boys Town was running it. And Boys Town knows nothing about CPS or the social or how to reunite parents or family reunification. They are dealing with children that grow up with no mother or father. My kids were accelerating in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. They played AYSO soccer. I went back to school nights to them, teachers, parents conferences. I could come and observe my children. One public school that my young son was going to had all glass walls. You walk the hallways and you could see the children in there, but they couldn't see out through the glass. It was a one-way glass. And the purpose is so that the principal and other administrators could observe the teachers teaching. It was a quick way to do it. So it's a state-of-the-art school. It was brand new. It was only maybe 10 years. I mean, the school was state-of-the-art. It's in a very wealthy, affluent neighborhood. People lived in $2 million homes where I lived. And they were affluent. There were doctors and lawyers and stuff. But oh no, we caught somebody who lost his job and he's low in income, and now we know how to get him. Here, take our court-appointed attorney. Here, for your children, for your wife. Everybody had a court-appointed attorney. Well, they're all employed by CPS. They're all corrupt. They're not trained in juvenile law, family law, or dependency law. There was many separate living rooms. There was the dining room off from the living room. There was the foyer, the walk-in area with a spiral staircase leading upstairs. There was a bathroom to the right. There was a private bedroom, study, library to the right. The living room was only one room in the hall, and you could walk very comfortably away from the living room. You did not need to be in the living room. And it was a temporary thing. It's so that I could move the things in there or get a job and put everything in storage. If I had the money, I would have put it. Two code enforcement, 5 firemen, and a detective. They were ransacking my place. They didn't care. They tromped their combat boots with dirt, mud all over. We don't allow shoes in the house. We adopted the Japanese custom of slippers. And over in Hawaii, it's very pronounced. And the Polynesians do the same thing. I like it that way. We have slippers for people that don't want to walk barefoot in the house. We have wooden floors and area carpets. And the house is very rich. It's very wealthy. It was very rich and wealthy. And I learned a very valuable lesson. Not to trust government. Not to trust government. Well, the living room did open view-wise to other areas. It opened to the dining room area. It opened to the hallway. There was no door on the living room. And it wasn't like I could do a storage room and put it in there. I needed some place where I could move the living room furniture close together and out of the way, and then put the boxes in the center and sit down and sort one box at a time. You have to understand, too, I am 60 years old back then. And at 70, I'm now 75. It's hard sometimes to do a lot of the lifting and sorting. My daughter, my youngest daughter who I lost, came to my home and helped me, came to my parents' home and helped me load the stuff in the U-Haul and help bring it inside. It was a terrible, terrible experience. And I know it's harassment. no one needed that space. And see, what the living room was is that when you opened the front door to the left, you saw an open area called the living room. Straight ahead was a spiral staircase to the second floor. That's where you had a double door master bedroom with on top of that, uh, you had a patio doors that opened up to a balcony that overlooked the pool, and you could see the ocean in the distance. And then you had plenty of high ceilings in the master bedroom. We had a king size bed in there. It was nice. Then in the hallway upstairs, where the kids had a study area outside the room, they had their own study area in the room and had a study area outside the room. Plus, there was what we called the library. The library downstairs was the fourth bedroom. I had three bedrooms. Actually, with the master, it's four bedrooms. The bedroom downstairs would be five bedrooms. But that was the library where I had all my books and stuff, and the computer room and everything there. But each kid had a separate door and a separate room and separate bathrooms. It's a big home. I mean, it's worth. I mean, when I left it, it was worth $2 million. That's how big the home was. It is safe because no one needed the living room space. But you have to understand, these social workers for 5 years were called by my in-laws, my wife's father, mother, and dad. They really were. Now, I know we're digressing and we're talking about my CPS case and what happened with me, and I'm trying to answer your questions, Christina. Can I file something now? What I know now, I could have, but I've reached the statute of limitations. I could do a lawsuit. I had a perfect lawsuit because I caught a social worker committing perjury on the stand. The one that told me she loved me, and it was so glad that she was able to help out. I mean, she's now 22. She has nothing to do with me. In fact, all her older children have nothing to do with us. Two of my children still live with me, but they're going to be moving out in September. One's 19 and one's 25. One just has a fiance, and one is going to college and they want to move out. They just wanted their own place. So, oh, I know it's robbery. It is so much robbery. It's unbelievable. To sue them, I would have to come up with another $50,000. I didn't have $50,000 retainer. I don't have it. I thought that attorneys would take a percentage and they would go for it and win it. And if they win it, they get 30%. But they want a retainer and 30%. That's how bad attorneys are. And I'm just sorry to say negative things about an attorney. I mean, I work for an attorney. He is the nicest man. And he has let so many things go. He's done so many pro bono cases. Anyway, I've learned a lot in his history in the last 15 years with CPS. If I knew right now what I know now, I would never have lost my family. They would never have anything against me. If I had to do my thing all over again, the first thing I would have done, the very first thing I would have done when I started to have these allegations, is I would get an attorney. In fact, I was one of those safe people that has medical insurance, homeowners insurance. I had appliance insurance if none of your things work. I mean, I was paying another $300 for that. I was paying another $1,200 for that. And then I had pet insurance. I had medical insurance. I had car insurance. I even had the insurance for car repair insurance. There's car repair insurance and there's collision insurance and liability insurance. And I have all these insurances, but the one I forgot was legal insurance. Did you know that you can get legal insurance for $200 a year? $200 a year. I would have paid $100 a month, $1,200 for legal insurance, and it would have saved me a fortune. I would still have my home, my forever home. I would not be forced to sell it. It was miserable to move out of my home. I had to leave so many things, let go. I had beautiful storage shelves in the garage. These are expensive storage shelves. I had it all wooden, other wooden storage shelves and shop tables and drill presses and lumber and stuff in there. My house, which was $1 million. And what I had left was what I gave Mr. Davis. And my inheritance when my parents died and all that, I used it to live off. I used my retirement that I had put away for working for 45 years. So I lost all my inheritance. I had a couple $100,000. Some of it was lost when the stock markets crashed. The banks folded when they got predatory loans. I had a predatory loan too, and I sued the bank, and I won money. But that doesn't help me recover things. Everything that can happen happened to me. I learned everything that you're supposed not to do. Number one, you need to get a real attorney, not a court-appointed attorney, not a public defender. And that attorney must be trained in dependency law, juvenile law, and family law. Those three go together. That's what CPS uses us to fight it. Also, secondly, that attorney should have fought CPS and have a proven track record. Not only fight CPS with getting the children back, but also do a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, and get money back. If you find any attorneys, I should have got 3 quotes and 3 quotes from attorneys, and I should have got the references. You know, a lot of us get caught up in emotions and we don't take time, but it's funny. When I shop for things, I always get 3 quotes. It's like this computer I want to get. I'm looking at Micro Center, Best Buys, and Walmart. I'm also looking at Amazon. And I'm making sure that I get 3 quotes before I make a buy. And from a reputable source. And that's what you do with attorney. So my rule 1 is attorney. I don't know how else to explain it to you because I would have called them right away and say, hey, look, I have something weird happening. CPS is believing of course, I didn't know who was complaining, but I'm going to say they're believing a layperson who says that we're not feeding our kids. We're not dressing our kids. We're not showering our kids. We're not taking our kids to school. We don't pay utilities. Now, every time that was accusated, I had CPS in my home. They're in my home 5 years in a row. It wasn't until the last time they were home when I undertaken my personal belongings for my family that they decided to pull the plug. When they brought out the firemen, they tried to find something wrong with my smoke alarms. I even had fire extinguishers by the stove. I had additional fire protective measures, not only about heat, but about carbon monoxide. I had sensors in every room of the house. I had a swimming pool that was well locked and well secured. There was a perimeter fence around it. No one could get in there, not even the dogs. And the children couldn't go to the back door because it was secured with a deadbolt lock and it had a chain. It was too high for them to reach when they were young. And the gate in the yard was secured, locked. That was so any neighbor kid could have to unlock the front gate at the front part of the house, then I'll unlock the pool gate. And the fence around it was secured. Even the dogs couldn't get in there. No, my in-laws don't. They tried to. My in-laws brought up my wife bad. She should have had CPS involved. And every day she has to live with it. She was raped at a concert when she shouldn't have gone to the concert. Her big sister didn't protect her. She was very naive growing up because her family was too um, too crazy. I don't know how to describe her family. No, her parents, her dad on his deathbed, uh, died not forgiving. Died. Yeah, he was one of the people, the instigators that called in. No, her dad's dead. And my wife has to suffer through all that. Her mom and her won't talk. Her sisters won't. When she was growing up, one sister would claw her face and do the hardest pinches around. And nothing was done about it. Scalding hot water, hot coffee was poured on her. She was even molested by her brother, and her parents didn't protect her. And she is a very, very devout Christian woman, and she follows her belief to the letter. In fact, she's very much infatuated with that. I believe in a simple religion. I believe in God, who is the same person as Jesus Christ. They're one of the same. The Trinity. And we're all on that railroad tracks that I've talked about. I'm on the right rail to the heaven. And the left rail is a circle of life. And it's connected by timbers. And each timber is a hurdle and a connection to get to heaven. My goal is to get to heaven. And maybe doing this, I've always been a volunteer all my life. I have over 50 years with the Boy Scouts of America. And I have over 50 years with the American Red Cross, where I've given up my time through disaster-related disasters, through teaching first aid, to teaching sailing, small craft safety, to teaching swimming and lifeguarding, also teaching disasters, how to work in a disaster. I've been on many disasters. I volunteer a lot of my times. I volunteered my time when my son was playing on the football team in the high school. I was very much involved in my children. I have been since the day they were born. I had purchased Disneyland passes, and every night, every day, we were open to going to Disneyland. My kids, when they were born, were greeted with Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. Disneyland was our entertainment. Our family my wife and I went out one date in the 32 years by ourselves. When we traveled to Brazil or Portugal or different countries in the world, when I was doing surfing at surfing contests, they would travel with me. My son was in the parade in Portuguelinhas in Brazil when he was 1 year old. I also took my son on a backpacking trip on the Nepali coast in Kauai. And my older daughter, well, she wasn't old that time, and my wife went along. But I've always been a family man. I think it's important to have families together and stuff. But my in-laws were the downfall of me. And if I knew that now, that would never have happened. If I knew who was calling in, I would have got an attorney, and then the attorney would do a strategy. He would stop the harassment and the calling into my home. We would investigate that. Also, rule number 2 is you have to document everything. Record audio, record video. Go to public places where you can do it. Don't go to their office. Don't use your home. Don't let them in your home. You don't know that people come to the door, don't open the door. It's a simple thing. Every time you open the door, they'll serve you papers, or they'll have some trouble to bring to your door. Or it's a salesman that wants to sell you religion or a new encyclopedia book. So I found out by answering the door is no. I don't answer the door. It rings all the time lately, and I don't answer it. And I go out there and check. If there's a business card or a letter, I respond to it. But if it isn't, I have a mail address. People can mail me a letter. They can email me. They can call me. I'm not hard to find. I'm a very public person in real life. My name is engraved in the city where I live. They honored me for what I did with surfing in the city where I lived. I am well known in museums. You know, yes, I'm a public figure. I've been president of international sporting federations. I've been president of the United States sporting federations. I've been at the helm of 60 some countries. I mean, it's like the United Nations. I'm sitting there trying to do Robert's Rules of Order. Anyway, I probably have digressed a little bit about my case only because Christina is searching herself to try to understand why this happened to me. Now, I know that not depressed, but sad. Sadness takes a hold of me. And when I lost my job, I had sadness happening. I felt like I couldn't be a provider to my kids. When I told them they had to sit there and no longer enjoy ice cream or cookies or chips or soda because those cost money, we are now living off food stamps. That is a hard thing to do because they give you food stamps are such small amounts. And now today with the price of living gone up, they're trying to pay you like you're 20 years ago with food stamps. And they're nowhere near what it's cost today. Nowhere near. And I know that a lot of you are suffering because of that. Anyway, documentation is so important. And one of the most important pages that I should have done is I should have done an incident time log. That's where you devote 3 lines to each incident on a piece of notebook paper. Your first line will have the location or the phone number of where the incident was involved. Right after that, or the phone number, you put the date and the time, and then you put the people that are involved, the names of the social worker, the names of the policeman, and whatever who's involved. The second line is a summary, a 1 sentence summary of what the incident was about. The third line is the outcome of the incident. And if you don't know the outcome, it's still months away, you'll come back later and fill it in. Leave a space. And you do 3 lines for each incident, skip a couple spaces, another 3 lines, skip a couple spaces. That is your time log of incidents, and that should be in your notebook. Now, rule number 3 is that you definitely have to say no to social workers or police coming in your home. You don't need them in your home. When you open the door, you give them permission. Not only that, they think it's permission to search the place or to take your children. And the sad sidebar, there's a black airman I think about all the time who was shot to death 5 times by a Gainesville sheriff. Man talking to his fiancee. Yes, the sheriff was fired, and there is a lawsuit against the sheriff. But was he ever disciplined? No. In fact, a lot of the policemen don't get disciplined, and that's wrong. We have bad police and good police, and I'm sorry the good police have to suffer through this. But you're supposed to be proud and to serve the public. You don't need to shoot a person 5 times in the chest point blank. If you want to disable a person, shoot them in the foot, shoot them in the hand. Don't stand in front of them. Crouch, peer around an opening. Don't stand up full board with your bulletproof vest and your macho lifestyle looking there like you're a tough billy cop. You're a human being. I know you're worried about the safety of your life. I know about your compadres that sit in a car and a gang member comes up and shoots the cop dead in his seat. It happens all the time. It's not safe, and I understand that. But be careful coming to doors, cops. Check around. Make a solid knock. Uh, Not let your family members let them in. You need to tell your family members not to let them in. You need to talk to your children about CPS. You don't need to tell them a lie, but you need to tell them to keep their mouth shut because even though they say something, it will hurt them. You do not talk to social workers unless the attorney's present. Your children don't talk to social workers. If they want to interview the child at school, that's fine. They just sit there and say yes, no answers. Now, if the parents did something seriously, they should not be afraid to say the truth. But they're fishing. They are fishing, social workers are, because they don't, if they had something concrete, they wouldn't waste your time to interview the children. They wouldn't waste your time. They'd arrest you. They would arrest you. They would charge you with a felony if you're hurting children physically or neglecting the children. You have to be careful out there. Also, when you go to hospitals, it is not safe anymore at emergency room or urgent care because there's a social worker now that works there and they are geared up and pumped up to try for something you violated CPS's code of rules or whatever their dumb rules are. Yeah, I call it dumb because they're really far-fetched. They're really far-fetched. They say that I was negligent because of my plea bargaining. I had to write down, and I had them write it, but the code says something different. I told them that they wrote the codes that they said that you could possibly endanger your children with the stacking of boxes. That's what I was charged with. That's what I plea bargained with. Anyway, and the worst part is when you come a child to have in a hospital. They'll try to take your child at birth. There are stories where the policeman, social worker walks in, grabs the baby still attached to the umbilical cord to the mother. There's there are gross stories I can tell you about, and I can't because this is a family-oriented show. So I have to be careful what I say. But believe me, CPS workers are not to be trusted. I'm not saying they're not good ones, but they're hard to find. All I know is there are over 1,700 of them. They're bad. That's firsthand information. Now, rule number 4 is to use the internet wisely. It's very important when you look up something that you use the city, state, and then the letters CPS. If you're from a country, put the country after, well, if you have a state, some of you don't have states, but put the country after city, then put the CPS. Then you ask specific question. How do I find a juvenile family dependency lawyer? How do I find those? Or what is this? Or what is that? Anyway, you can ask those questions. So, and spend time on it. I spent 2 hours yesterday helping out this couple, and I found so much about gallstones. And, they have a lawsuit against the hospital for falsely removing the appendix. They thought they had appendix, and they did not. They have a malpractice lawsuit, and they're going to have another lawsuit against a CPS worker for interfering. The parents were using good judgment. They were using good judgment. And lastly, rule 5 is make copies of all your documents. Put that in an envelope with your notebook. And I mean copies of your driver's license, your birth certificate, the children's birth certificate, your marriage license, your kids' report cards, your shot records of your kids. Anything important is related to your children or your family. You make copies, stick in the envelope, because they're going to sit there and try to put in reports that you're not the father or the alleged father or whatever. This is so stupid what they do. And if you're a Native American Indian, make sure you put your membership in your tribe. Because ICWA law of 1978 says that CPS must turn over children that are Indian. The way they be recognized Indian, they have to be registered or already registered in one of the 548 federal recognized tribes. That's what ICWA 1978 is. So all you indigenous families out there, my First Nation, my Native Indians in Canada, my Native American Indians in the United States, you guys were the first immigrants to Canada and to the United States. And your migration continued to go down to Central America. South. They were all the first immigrants. Europeans came later. Next, after the Indians, came the Vikings. And then we have the rest of Europeans, the Portuguese, the English, the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, the Irish, the Scottish, people from Belgium. All those were immigrants, and they all brought their own ideas of what civilization is right and told American Indians were not civilized. I think the Native American Indians are more civilized than a lot of us are. They never made bad usage of their elements. We would cut down forests before we learned how to plant trees. The Native American Indians never wasted resources. They made use of every resource. Yes, they had trouble among themselves, disagreements, cultures interfered, but they were good people, loving people, and they had to sit through the same thing that happened to the Japanese internment during World War II, or the Jewish internment during World War II in Germany. Did you know the Native American children were taken to private homes and the Native American Indians were put on reservations that were intolerable? These Native American children were stripped of their hair, their custom, their language, their food. And they never got to return to their families. They were adopted out to families. They tried to destroy the American Indian, and it rose again through the AIM, American Indian Movement. People like Dennis Banks and Roger Means and a lot of activists. It was sad. It was sad what happened at Battle of Little Bighorn. The Indians won that battle, by the way. It's the only battle they won in the United States. It was Little Bighorn. Anyway, I've already talked a good hour and 7 minutes. I've gone past my time of 29 minutes. And I hope that you all got something about that. Right, Christina didn't know she was Indian. She found she was. She's also Spanish, Portuguese, Irish, and Scottish. I have Aztec grandparents, forefathers. It's so important to know your native roots. It is, Christina. And thank you for listening with me and your questions and so forth. I'm a survivor. Eight years later. And I've been fighting them for 15 years. 5 years before they took our children, and then 10 years since they've taken our children. That's 15 years. And I've only met one social worker over the thousands of people I talked to on here. And she's from Maryland. And she was a beautiful social worker. She talked. And we have one good foster mother in here. But I want to thank Christina for being in my room regularly and talking about her case and whatnot. I want to thank Tracy McInnes, who retired in Arkansas. I think you said you retired. Let me see. Where did you retire? Oh, boy. Arkansas, yeah. And I guess she has a son in Texas that necessary the state they're from. Of course, he has per diem when he travels to other state. I quoted a couple in Georgia, 125,000 for Mr. Davis to represent him. So there are a lot of different quotes out there. If you want to call in, I'll help you out getting Mr. Davis. Again, I want to thank all you listeners. God bless you all. And please don't stop fighting for your child. Don't give up. I'm on twice a day. So if things get rough, call on me. Call on me. I also will talk to people from 8 to 10 who want to hire Mr. Davis, and from 11 to 1 that want to hire Mr. Davis. I do calls. 20 hours a week. I do calls where I talk to people how to retain Mr. Davis and what he can do for them and how much his retainer fee is and so forth. And the other 14 hours, I do my 2-day live stream. So I'm dedicating 34 hours to you guys. I'm still looking for work out there. Out. 2010 to 2020 is 10 years, and 5 more is 15 years. That's 15 years. Now, I've had 2 jobs since then that were solid, but one, the owner died of pancreas cancer. The other owner, they didn't have any more work for me to do, and they kept laying me off and no place to go. I was working all over California. But anyway, thank you for listening. God bless you all. I'll be on tonight at 7 p.m. There'll be a brief message from my attorney, Vincent Davis. Please listen. Bob Pace.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted, and if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the
last ones left. Put your faith in